Okay, yay. Hey, moms in real estate. Welcome to the first real social marketing meetup that we do of 2025. So excited to be back with Kim and Whitney from Real Social. If you do not know these ladies, they are the powerhouses that help you to simplify social media. They take out the stress, they take out the anxiety, they take out all of the questions that stop us from doing this, and they help you to execute it better. And each month we go live here in Moms in Real Estate, and we do our social meetup, our marketing meetup. And if you get in the Zoom room, you can actually do that now. That was something new we just brought at the end of 2024. You can join us here, ask your questions live, and get even more value from these ladies. Or you can tune into the live stream and ask your questions there. But hi, ladies. Happy 2025.
Hi.
New
How
year.
are you guys doing?
We're cold. We were just joking. Here in Ohio, it's 12 degrees today. So we're just trying our best. Okay, guys?
Yeah.
I told them, I said, you guys both are like powered up and you're like your sweaters and you're black and you're like ready to go. They mean business. But then they told me how like comfortable and cozy socks and all the things they had under, going on. And I was like, my kind of girls. So yeah, I love it. So I have a question I kind of want to kick off. I do have a few questions and I'm sure we'll have more coming in on the live like we always do. But I just want to know, like 2025, are you guys mixing anything up? Are you changing anything? Have you decided like big pivot, going a different direction on social? Like, is there anything different that we should know?
The one thing I think we can all agree on is that things change fast with social media. And one of the things that you really need to be committed to is just paying attention to what's happening in the industry if it's going to be a part of your marketing strategy. And, if you hang around us at all, we try and do that for you so that you don't have to keep too close of an eye on things and you get to just sort of show up and learn from us. But the thing that I think is going to be really emerging in 2025 is a lot more behind the scenes content and a lot more like stuff that you can't replicate. The things that you're doing that nobody else is doing, the conversations you're having that no one else is having, that is what I think is really going to stand out in 2025. What do you think, Milsey?
I think it's kind of like an and. We were talking about this yesterday, and I feel like specifically for real estate, I think it's really no more a question of should you be on social. I think we all have like really like hammered that home. But it's like, well, what else comes with that? And I just think it's that it's the engagement. So how do you create the engagement? You can do it just within social, but I think using social to kind of be that launch pad for you to get in front of the people that you want to be working with is, I think, probably one of the biggest opportunities for 25.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll tell you.
I was going to say, I don't want to not to get into the weeds on this, but I think if we see TikTok go away, I think we'll see more energy and engagement back on Instagram. Yeah. I said it here first. So just put it in your feather cap for later and then let me know.
You heard it. Moms in Real Estate from Whitney herself. All right. We are the source. We are the source on all things. No, it just, when you were talking about like behind the scenes too, so I have this unique situation. I'm still a producing agent. And yesterday, being honest and transparent, I was going back and forth on my emotions on this listing video. And what I realized is the magic is in behind the scenes. And let me elaborate on that a little bit. So Kim, you said, but I want your opinion. That's why I'm sharing this, because I want your opinion. Yeah. So Kim, you said something powerful. You were like, people want to see you and they want to see behind the scenes and they work with you for that reason, right? And one of the things about me is I've built my business with a baby on my hip. Now it's grandbabies on my hip. Like I've always had kids afoot, right? And that's just part of working with me. And it's also been a reason people respect me because I run a family first business. So I kind of got this idea that I was going to incorporate my grandkids more in my business. And I have been. Long story short, and I even have this caption teed up in my head, okay? Because I'll explain it. I'll bring it together. But I have this caption teed up in my head, like, ditch the professional videographer, ditch the high heel power hills, and bring the kids to the listing and shoot the video, right? So what I did is I ditched all that stuff. I gave my grandkids a pen and paper. And I was like, let's make a lifestyle living video for this house. And their little minds are going, they're like, oh, can we feature the ice cream shop? I'm driving around town looking for an ice cream shop in this little town. They're like, what about this, grandma? What about this? So we went out there and we did, of course, have professional photography and drones, because at the end of the day, we have to, put a good foot forward, right? But simultaneously, we're shooting B-roll. They're like on the couch and they're like, can we do a scary movie clip? She doesn't even watch scary movies, but the popcorn goes flying, all these things, right? And then I piece it together and they're producing it. So they're watching and they're like, Grandma, get us louder when we say the view of the baking and do this and do that. And so like so much engagement. So now something that would have been either a large expense for me to piece out, or something that would have maybe even been stressful for me to put together on the back end, became like this fun project that I did with them. And so now I have this video. And then I kind of yesterday was sitting there because I'm like, okay, I mean, it's not like the best video in the world, right? Like it's not the best video, but I think it's pretty good. And the thing about it was I was like, stop worrying about the perfect production, because that's what I was getting focused on. Like we've all seen those agents that are putting out that cinematic quality, and it's like they've got all these different angles and they've got the perfect, all the things, right? So I'm thinking about that, and I'm missing that, like, number one, anybody that sees this is going to be like, dang, she incorporates her family in marketing. She's a little corny, which is so true to my nature, so true to my nature, right? Like they're going to see who I am instantly in this. And secondly, I won as a mom and a grandma in real estate and brought my kids into the business, and it still does a dang good job showing the house and showing the views. And so anyways, you guys can give me all your feedback on that, because I have it like teed up and ready to go today. And I'm like, okay, like I'm just paralyzing myself. And I share this because I think that there's moms in real estate that do this. We move the needle 80% of the way, and then we don't ever put the final 20% into execution because of like all the confusing. I'm like, do I actually post it as a like, okay, live 123 Main Street? Or do I tell the story of like, hey, this is how as a mom in real estate, you can ditch all this stuff and have fun with your family and incorporate them? Like, which story do I tell? Do I tell both? All the things. So you guys didn't know you were showing up for Randy's therapy session today around listing videos.
I think it's wonderful. And I think it's actually a great example because I mean, if we want to go back to, I think what Whitney and I always start with is like, what's your brand? I think we can get so lost in this business by just looking at what other people are doing and thinking that's what I have to do too. What you just described might not work for everybody, but it sure as heck works for you because that's how you show up and that's how people know you. And so I think as long as you are really clear on what your brand is and who you are and who you're trying to attract, those kind of videos can definitely work. If that is not who you are and you go and do that video, it's going to be a wicked
It's not authentic.
Yeah.
You don't really like kids, and all of a sudden they're right at your feet all this.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, like Kim hates kids, which I don't. But why does she have kids all over her? No, I'm just kidding. I think the big thing too is I also like how you took one task that we all have to do and you're like, how can I make this more meaningful and how can I get more use out of this? So like I just thought about this because I had a listing video the other day and I didn't do the best job of like really getting my bang for my buck, but I'm starting to try to think through like if I could walk away, yes, with the video, but if I can also walk away with like 5 to 8 clips that I can use anywhere, then yeah, that's what we should be doing. Like we have to be smarter, like unless you just have a money tree and you're going to shake it every time and you can do whatever you want, which we know that's like a big pain point for people. So I think it's great what you did. I feel like you should just post, like post a couple versions of it, not back to back, but like to your point, I think we stop ourselves before we ever do it all. And it can be messy. It doesn't need to be perfect. I think, at the beginning of this, we're talking about like the engagement and the relatability and behind the scenes. That's what people want. They don't want, it can be somebody shooting it for you, but it doesn't have to feel like you're in post-production for 2 months before you put this video up. Like just do it, engage and move on. And like lather, rinse, repeat would be my advice.
Yeah. And I think, what do you have to lose? Like by posting the video, you test it and you try, and it either goes really well or it doesn't go really well. And then you decide the next time whether it's worth your energy to keep going down that direction. And if you're the kind of person who's like, okay, I love this concept, but there's this like level of professionalism that I just like can't let go of, then get the professional videographer to come shoot you shooting your kids, right? Like, so you're there with your phone filming your kids and they're getting professional grade clips of you doing that. So you can use those clips of you 1,000 times down the road, right? So if you're really hanging up on the professionalism, then fine, bring it in, but still do the thing that makes you you.
Yeah. I always hear Kim in my head on one thing, which is like, you can use the same content because I'm horrible. I'm like, okay, that's it. The listing video got posted and I can never post that listing. Like, I'm bad about that. So I always hear Kim. And then my friend Neil, he always says, he's very colorful, so I won't say exactly what he says, but he basically always says like, hey, if you ever are making fun of somebody that's like trying, like, you suck, right? Like, that's the very filtered way that he says it. And I just, when you said that right now, Whitney, it made me think of that. So for the mom in real estate that's watching this, right? Like, I do think at any point in your career, because I am seasoned and I am established, and that's kind of why it's also like, gives me an additional complex, because like, is this weird for me to put this out at this stage? You know what I mean? Should I be somewhere else? So we all have that. And just remember, if there's somebody that's going to be like, oh, that sucks, or oh, that was weird, or whatever, that's just not a cool person. Like, that's the person you don't have to worry about. So we got to stop giving those people power, right?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, how do you want to be meeting people? You know, like, how do you want to engage with people? How do you want to have conversations? I mean, hands down, obviously, Whitney and I love social, right? Like, we love it. And we actually think a lot of people really do. We think they're just their own worst enemy and they stop themselves from just getting a little bit more comfortable or, posting something that they're nervous about. It's like, to your point, if somebody is going to say something negative, I mean, I just sent out this newsletter with like Mel Robbins with her let them theory. It's like, just let them. Like, why are we so worried about that? Like, you are good at what you do, and you need to be confident enough to post what you're going to post and be the expert in what you're talking about and move on with your life. And if those people are going to say something about you, freaking let them, because it's a reflection on them. It's not a reflection on you.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm glad I can always, I'm never short issues for you guys. Just so if we're ever worried that we're not going to have a topic, we will always, if I'm here, we'll always have a topic. But seriously, I'm so excited because I feel like this is the year where we can get so many moms back into being social. I feel like in 2024, it was exhausting. There was just so much deflation and like just all of that. So if you're a mom that kind of tapped out in 2024, and you kind of left social media behind, how do they get back in? Like, what is their plan that is best that you guys would suggest to tap back in?
So I have so many thoughts on this. Do not be the kind of girl who swears that she's going to go like 75 hard on her social or even 30 hard. Okay. You're going to take it one day at a time, baby love. You're going to show up one day. And then the next day, you're going to try to show up again. And if you fall off the wagon and you don't show up, then the next day, you're going to try again. And you're going to stop telling yourself this lie that if you can't do it massively, then it's not good enough or not worth you doing it at all. You're going to show up one story, one reel at a time. If it feels laborious, you're going to look back into your old videos and you're going to pull shit out of that instead of filming your face. Okay. You're going to start with whatever you've got and you're going to make it super easy because what we want here are reps, right? The more you do this, the faster you get, the easier it becomes, the less of a mountain it is, right? So instead of building a mountain in front of you and forcing yourself to climb it, treat it like it's little boulders the whole way.
And I would say it's not just about the video. I think like, take a second and be strategic about this. Like, who are you in real estate? What is your personality? Who are you trying to attract? And also, like, who do you want to align with? Like, in your community, like, what are you interested in? What do you like to do? Like, you need to find those people on social and start loving on them. There are days on social that I don't really want to do anything on Kim Mill's group, but man, do I love like really pouring on my friends that have their own businesses and just either sending them a message or, commenting sincerely on a post to give them a boost. That stuff feels so freaking good and it goes a long way and it costs nothing.
Yeah, I think that's
To
honestly
piggy-
one of the biggest. Oh, go ahead, Whitney.
No, I was just going to say to piggyback on that, when we were talking earlier about what's in 2025 and what we'll see changing, I honestly think engagement will take a massive swing this year. Yeah. And so, you need to be prioritizing your engagement with other people just as high as you're prioritizing your creation for sure.
That's what I was going to say. That was exactly what I was going to say. I think that's the power hack of 2025, right? Like, I think that the industry got so flooded with, for lack of better words, influencers and all the people doing social, that all of a sudden the new rat race became like to do it. And the people that just were like silently engaging, like they killed it, they crushed it, right? And so I always tell agents, when you're in doubt about social media, just go show up and talk to somebody. Like, it's social media. Okay, we have a couple questions. How do you ensure consistent branding across all social media platforms while staying authentic to your personality?
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to think about your brand from like a visual perspective, from a messaging perspective, and from like a like feel and vibe, right? And so, how do you ensure that they're consistent across all platforms? Speak the same language, use the same fonts and colors, right? And like be yourself, right? And so your style of content can change, but if those three things stay the same, then it's going to be pretty consistent. I know Kim probably will have more thoughts on this because she's like the brand expert.
Well, I mean, look, like if you had a brand, if you had a like a brand Bible, like a brand guideline book, I'm like, oh my God, I love those so much. But look, a lot of us don't have that. So don't worry, don't go feel like, oh my gosh, I have to go create that. I think it's just taking the time to map it out before you start going everywhere, right? So it is, you've got to visually understand what you want it to look like. And then I do think like your tone, right? You want it to sound similar across all platforms. I think little things for sure are like, if you're using, like if I use a filter, I always use the same filter. I typically use two of the same fonts. I typically know where I'm going to film. It's like if it's in a house, I know kind of where I'm going to stand, right? Like I'm not going to be whatever. Just you can kind of be consistent in visual nods as well. But I think across all platforms, they're allowed to be a little bit different. Like you do have to think about who is on the other side of that and how they're responding. So, oftentimes I do tests this way because it's like, I don't know. I mean, you got to try, like, you got to try, you got to figure stuff out sometimes. So I sometimes will literally lift something from Instagram and drop it into LinkedIn. And then I have to make some tweaks because I'm like, this isn't really my Instagram audience, but it's not that far off. So like, I might take a little bit of my little like, hey y'all, or like, if I cuss in Instagram, which I don't always, I will take that out of LinkedIn. And you know what? Maybe in 2025, I'm not going to do that. But I think you just know on those different platforms, like what the audience, who is that audience, and then tweak it to that. But, there shouldn't be massive revisions or anything because you want to be the same person across all platforms.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so we have another one, and this one might be a little bit loaded, so I'm excited to hear what you guys said. So how do you track and measure ROI from social media?
Great question.
I don't.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
right.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's not
kidding, but she's not
put your head
kidding.
in the sand. Put your head in the sand and don't ever worry about it again.
No, I mean, she's kidding, but she's not kidding. She's not focused on, I think, a lot of the things that other people are focused on. She's not tracking the things that most people track. Yeah. So how do we know? How do we make sure that our content is doing what it needs to do? Well, first of all, we have really crystal clear objectives and goals for our social media. So it's the beginning of 2025. It's a really great time for you to sit down and say, what the heck do I even expect Instagram to do for my business? And I want you to get really clear, like from Instagram, I should be getting X new leads per month, right? Like, and I'm not worried about like total conversion because I feel like if you've done a really good job educating yourself as a professional, you're going to know how to take that lead and get them through your funnel and convert them, right? So my whole goal here is attraction. Am I attracting warm leads into my community? Am I staying in front of my current sphere and I'm seeing X% of my current sphere engage with me meaningfully? Am I having new people follow me and engage with me in a meaningful way? Am I seeing people opt into my funnels in the way that they should be, whatever those things are? If you've got lead magnets that you're getting people into, all that kind of stuff. So Kim pays more attention to the fact that she's getting DMs of people wanting to work with her. She's keeping a track on the kinds of people that are following her. Are they Columbus local? Are they, like instead of just like all across the world, right? Like if she's trying to grow her real estate business, she's trying to grow with intention in a specific demographic. So she's paying attention to things that are not likes or shares. They are meaningful KPIs that yield result in her business. But it starts with knowing what those are.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, it's also, if you're thinking about the whole year, I mean, like Whitney and I did our Plan Your Year webinar. And I think if you're looking at all of what you want to try to accomplish in 2025, I kind of throw the question back. It's like, well, do you really know what your ROI is going to be on like a farm? Do you really know what it's going to be on an ad, like one ad? Like I push back on that stuff. I mean, coming from the land of advertising, I know you have to do a lot of that to move that needle. And so that's where I think, um, it doesn't always have to be like, ooh, I got X amount of transactions from
Right.
Instagram. How many conversations did you have in Instagram? Like how many chats, how many messages, how many conversations did you start? Because that's exactly like getting a lead in your email from any sort of lead gen more traditionally.
Yeah. And I think something you said, Whitney, that's really powerful is like, what do you want it for? And so, I think that we underestimate the things that we can do beyond attracting leads. So for me, like education has been a big component. And also, social media has a way of instantly giving a certain level of credibility. And so you can be out in your community, or you can be referred to somebody, and you can meet somebody directly, and you can say, let's, please connect with me on social media or on Instagram, because that's where I put out a lot of educational content. And I'd love to make sure you're getting in front of that. You can also take that direct link to a piece and say, hey, listen, I know you're looking at, house hacking, or you're looking at this, and I actually made this video on it. And then like instantly it changes the level of how you're perceived as a professional, because it's like, oh, wait, I can go here and be educated by you. And then it also does, like to your point, Kim, it solidifies your brand, right? And so I also don't necessarily track it, but I know firsthand that agents that I get to do business with, as well as my clients, they know, like they come to me like knowing who I am. They already know they want to work with me because they follow me on social. And so what they've done on social is like decided if they like me or they don't. And if they don't like me, they're not even talking to me. So I think that we underestimate that. And I think we do get lost in the vanity metrics, right? I made a post the other day, and it was a really, really good reminder. It was just like on a hilltop when I was walking a parcel for somebody. And I was like, I'm just out here looking for more people that want to escape the suburbs, right? And I remember one comment came in on it. But the comment literally was one of my past clients that was like, me, I'm ready. Like, and I was like, I knew you weren't meant for the suburbs long term. That was a pit stop. And boom, we're having the conversation about like how and when do we pivot them? Do they keep that as an investment? Do they sell it? But how do we pivot them to acreage, right? And again, I think that we as an industry and as moms, I just keep hearing like this total burnout on social and just in business. And we're overcomplicating this. We're overcomplicating this. Like make social fun, right? Can that be a thing? Can we bring that as a hashtag, like make social fun again?
I mean, if
And
we're involved, it's going to be fun. Sorry, like price of
Right?
entry.
That's the hack. That's a hack. Get real social. It'll be
if you
all fun.
are If you're looking for a KPI that I think is relevant to anybody who runs a business and is leveraging social media to market that business, one KPI that you can keep an eye on is your profile conversion rate. So essentially, you want to look at the number of people that visit your profile versus the number of people that end up following you. You're looking for around a 15% conversion rate. So if we have 2,000 profile visits in a month, and then we have 300 new followers, that's around 15% conversion rate. You can very easily find that data inside of Instagram. And so if we're lower than 10%, I think we got to look at like, okay, how optimized is my bio and how relevant is my content? Because it's not, when they're finding me, they're not staying, right? And so that's one really easy KPI that most people can track to decide like whether or not, oh, this is actually working for me.
Oh, I love that. In fact, one of our last questions was, what platforms did you use to track things? And so you know what I loved about what you just said, Whitney, is it's not another thing. It's not like another thing you need to go buy or you need to have, you already have it. So you're finding that right there in the Instagram dashboard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I also think, where are you going to start? I mean, start what's familiar and where your audience is. I think this is where, I mean, I feel like we hear this every time we talk to a group is, you allow yourself to become so overwhelmed immediately because you either feel like you're behind the eight ball and now you have to do everything yesterday. And again, we're doing that to ourselves. Figure out one place to start and just start and be consistent. I think that's the thing is like when you think about these profiles and you think about the feed and a stranger going there, it needs to be you and it needs to have something there.
Yeah.
Like it can't be empty. I mean, we talk about this as your living resume, right? And so it doesn't, I think it needs to be vibrant. I think it needs to be you. I think it needs to be not just houses. Like it, you know, it really needs to incorporate like what makes you so good at your job is one aspect of what needs to be on there, but you're ultimately helping people with a major life decision.
Yeah.
So you can't be a robot that's just talking about like all these houses I sold. Well, that's great. Like clearly you're good at that, but like, do I know that you know like where I need to get my hair done and like what dentist I should go to and where I should take my husband on a date? Like these are things that like if you're an agent, you know you get asked these things. And so find a way to incorporate that kind of stuff into your content. And I think you become immediately relatable to people who likely would want to hire you.
Yeah, I think that, and we're right at time, but I think that's such a powerful note to end on, Kim. I always have this personal rule. It's been my rule forever in social, and it's one scroll, love me or hate me. Like one scroll. Like I just want you to be able to go to my page and go through one swipe and instantly be like, this is my girl, or like get me as far away from her as possible. And that was really hard, if I'm being honest. Like I don't think nobody wants to like be the girl that's like, yeah, no, you're not my cup of tea. Everybody wants to be somebody's cup of tea, right? But when I got really comfortable realizing that success was in being very easily defined as somebody's person or not somebody's person, I was like, all right, I can do this. And it's just kind of like, you know, it is what it is. And so I love that, because I think that that's just a really good thing. Like, hey, that's what people do nowadays. Like, even when I'm traveling, I'm like on Instagram to find it. And within one scroll, I know if I want to go to the restaurant, I know if I want to use the person, I know that. And so I love that that was like, what did you call it? What did you call it? Like a
Resume. It's
resume.
your
That's what
living
you called it,
resume.
right? Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that that's really good. And I think more than hyper focusing on how often you're posting or when you're posting, like, is my living resume a good reflection of my who I am overall and of my brand? And if it's not, get another post on there. Make sure that scroll's always ready to go.
Yeah.
I
Love
love
it.
that. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back next month. And so if you guys want more help on social, keep in mind that even though Kim and Whitney are in Ohio and do have tons of in real life opportunities for Ohio, they also work with people all over the country virtually. So you can reach out directly to them. So thank you so much, ladies. We appreciate you. Bye, guys.